All right. Okay, so the recording started. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so hello, everybody. I'm Sophia Mona Lisa. I'm so honored that you've chosen to join my group because I'm so excited to hear what Tristan has to say. So I'm glad that they're doing the recording. I hope everybody's been assigned, but at least it's being recorded. So if anybody's missing the beginning of this, they'll be able to pick that up. Listen, at any time, if you have a question, don't hesitate to unmute yourself and ask me a question. And there's supposed to be a timer here, but I don't see the timer. So I'm going to put my phone on for 35 minutes so that we'll have 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. So make sure I do that. All right. So the reason that Nancy asked me to do this presentation for you is because I started a series called Spotlight on Influencers back in June. And I was inspired to do this starting with President Trump right on his birthday. And I've done several since then, and it was about 10 or 15 minutes. So she asked me if I would do a little bit more on it. So I said I'd be happy to. So that's kind of the basis of this. And I've been sharing the links to those videos in the Telegram group. And so hopefully you've seen the original video that I did on President Trump. And if not, that's okay. You can go back and watch it. It's on Rumble. So Nancy asked me to include a bit of information at the get-go. So I put in some slides to accommodate all the information she wanted me to share with you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides because I want to spend time talking about President Trump, but they're here so that when you go back and look at the recording, you can pause and you can read through the slides if you're interested. So this is my bio that she asked me to do for you. These are the episodes that I've done so far in my Spotlight on Influencers series. And all of those, as I said, are on Rumble. And these are the ways in which you can reach me on my website, through my email. And this is all of the social media. So you can find my recordings here on Rumble and these other social media spots as well. Okay, now, because I'm doing this for the Connecting Conscious members, and as a pre-trial for this presentation, I offered Nancy a solar return reading for herself, and she loved it. And she said, if you could offer this to the members at a great price, that would be fabulous. So I have put together an exclusive offer for the Connecting Conscious members. And I will say that I'm not just doing it for Central Florida members. Any of the Connecting Conscious members, you can have your initial solar return reading done. And also I'm giving you an individual membership to the Golden Ray. These are annual memberships, but because we're already so far into the year, I'm giving you an extra full year. So that'll go through 2022. And this is where you can book a reading if this is something that you're interested in pursuing. So here we go. Here's President Trump's chart. So the first thing I want to do, because I don't know how many of you are familiar with astrology, is I want to explain to you what is a solar return chart. What does that mean? So at the time that you were born, the time, the place, and the location that you were born, all of the luminary bodies are in a specific position, place in the sky. And based on that information, you can cast what's called a natal chart. And this is on the inside circle, the natal chart for President Trump. These are obviously not all of the luminary bodies in the sky. They're just the ones that I tend to work with. Now, every year on your birthday, what happens is the sun goes all the way around and comes back to exactly the same place in the sky that it was located at your moment of birth. And because it's the sun, the word for that is solar. And because it's come all the way back around to the same place where you were born, it's called a return, a solar return chart. So this outer circle in blue, you'll see is the solar return chart. And you'll notice here's the glyph for the sun. It's in exactly the same place as his natal chart, 22 degrees Gemini, 56 minutes. So that's how we know that this is a solar return chart. So the things that I want to point out to you, I've made a list of things I'd like to share with you, is very important, is for the United States and the world at large. The United States, based on its birth chart, is getting ready to have what's called a Pluto return. So it's the same definition. It means that Pluto is getting ready to come back in the same spot in the sky where it was located at the birth of our country. This is a huge event because it only ever happens every 200, and how many years have we been a country? 200 and some plus years. It's a huge event. And this is the glyph for Pluto. And we see that it's very close to the Pluto return point, which is specifically for the United States, 27 degrees, 33 minutes Capricorn. So you can see that the Pluto in President Trump's solar return chart is within a degree of that return point. And for all of us having birthdays this year and next year, and even up into 2024, we are all a part of this Pluto return for the United States. Everybody on the planet is going to have Pluto in their solar return chart very closely aspected to the Pluto return point of the United States of America. This is huge because that means that every soul on this planet, and Pluto is the planet that represents the soul and what the soul purpose is and what the soul mission is. Every soul on this planet came here to be here at this time when the United States of America is having its rise from the ashes, transformation, regeneration moment. Rising from the ashes like the phoenix. Every one of us are involved in that. And so we see here that for President Trump, this is in the location of his chart called the fourth house. The fourth house, that's what grounds him into his energetic taproot. And right across the sky from that is his solar moon. This is the glyph for the moon. The moon represents the great mother, or what some people refer to as the divine mother, that nurturing energy that provides that safe space for all of us to be vulnerable. And for President Trump to have that right across the sky from this Pluto return point is huge, because you'll see here, it's in his 10th house. The 10th house is the work that you are known for. And so while he may be a real estate developer, that's his job, the work that he's really being known for is how he is assisting the United States through this incredible transformation and rebirth at this specific time in our history. And with his moon placement here, a part of what he's going to be known for over this year, from his birthday in June of this year and through June of next year, because this solar return chart is for what's happening in his evolutionary expansion, in his ascension journey over the course of the next year. He is going to be playing this role of the great mother for us here in the United States and for the world at large, holding this space, this of safety and emotional security for all of us as we're having our highs and lows, and emotionally to be able to feel vulnerable in. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Juan O'Savin, but he has said on many occasions that the people in the United States are going to be having a near-death experience through this process. That near-death experience that he is talking about is completely related to Pluto and the fact that the United States is having a Pluto return. That's what it feels like. In fact, for people that have, most people will not have a Pluto return, but they may have a square to their Pluto, possibly an opposition. These Pluto transits, they feel like the dark night of the soul. And oftentimes soul beings will use those opportunities to transition away from off of the earth, because it is like a near-death experience. And so because we're going through this near-death experience, it's really important to have a soul being that has such a bright light as President Trump on the world stage, who is energetically through his heart chakra beaming this energy of the Great Mother to bring comfort and a sense of safety and a security as we go through the uncertainty of what this transition looks like. So at this point, before I go into the next piece, are there any questions or clarification regarding that particular piece of what I'm sharing? And just feel free, because I can't see everybody, to unmute and speak up if you need to.
Sophia, I just wanted to ask, in the fourth house, what does the fourth house stand for, where the 10th house stands for the work? Is the fourth house children, or am I wrong?
So this is really a great question, Diana, and I appreciate it because I intended to speak to that. This moon energy that's up here in his 10th house is actually the lady of the fourth house. The moon is the ruler of the fourth house, which is Cancer. And so this same energy, this ability to feel safe and at home and nurtured and nourished, is the energy of this fourth house. Now you'll see here that his fourth house is in this Capricorn energy. The Capricorn energy is the energy of the elder, of the way shower, of the wisdom keeper. And so as the elder of the tribe, so to speak, of the human tribe, he is able to hold this space for all of us as the entire world, and our country specifically, is going through this rebirth. So when you're thinking of the Great Mother, yes, you're going to think of children. You're going to think of emotional issues related to perhaps your inner child. Your inner child may get triggered through this process. And so his capacity to hold that space for us, that sacred, safe space for us through this process, is very crucial at this time. Thank you for that question. Any other? Go ahead.
Yes. So what happens during this rebirth? What happens to the earth that's different?
So that's a fabulous question. Pluto is having its return next year, 2022, and it's going to have 3 activations of that Pluto return. The first one will be in February. The second one will be mid-July, and the last one will be on December 28th, almost at the very end of the year. So we're going to be experiencing this all of next year. And in fact, we have already been feeling the energetic influence of this since July of next year. And so everything that happens in those 3 activations, this is the way that I like to talk about it. First, you have to build, like if you're going to build a house, first you have to build, frame out where the foundation of that house is going to be. And that's essentially what the first activation does. Then once you have the foundation framed out, then you're going to pour in the concrete and you're going to level it and you're going to let it dry. And that's what the second activation in July will be about. The third activation is when the concrete has become solid and now you can build something new on that new foundation. And that's what's going to happen by the end of December. So you see, between now and the end of December, there's going to be a lot of structures and a lot of systems with Pluto burning to the ground. You can think of, if you know the tarot, the tower card. A lot of structures, a lot of systems burning to the ground. Once we get through 2022, Pluto is going to be in Capricorn through 2024. And in 2024, it's going to move back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn. Now, the great thing about Pluto is while all of this destruction has been happening, meanwhile, for all of us as individuals, our ability to be, and it's a divine ability, to be able to choose the timelines that we want to be on, the dimensions that we want to be in, that ability has been regenerated by Pluto. And some of you may already be experiencing shifts in timelines and shifts in and out of dimensions. Well, when Pluto starts to go in and out of Aquarius in 2024, that gift will be like palpable, full online. You will be able to see that happening in your external world. And by the end of 2024, when Pluto gets into Aquarius and starts pulling away from that retrograde point in 2025 and 2026, you're going to see a completely different world. How is that going to look? It depends on us, because we will have full access to our multidimensional selves here in through Aquarius, and Pluto will be at that point affecting the collective consciousness of humanity, being able to regenerate and bring the entire collective consciousness back up to a higher frequency. So it's going to look very different between now and the end of 2024 into 2026. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, somewhat. It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in. It is a lot to take in. So are we ready to look at the next piece?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Okay, so the next piece that I want to show you is this year we are having 3 major events. They're called a Uranus square Saturn event. 3 of them happening this year. The first one happened in February. The second one happened the day after President Trump got this new solar return chart. So it is encoded into this solar return chart and will be a part of his ascension journey over this next year. And the third one will be on Christmas Eve day. So Uranus and Taurus way up here, this is the glyph for Uranus, this is the glyph for Taurus, is all about, Taurus is all about embodying, Uranus is all about radical liberating energies. Embodiment of radical liberating energies. Saturn is down here. This is the glyph for Saturn. This is the glyph for Aquarius. Saturn is the cosmic gatekeeper. Everything that's out there in the intangible world, everything that's in our multidimensional selves that are infinite and eternal must come through the cosmic gatekeeper to be made manifest here. And so what this square is all about, a square in astrological terms is a 90-degree angle, and it represents energies that provide a breakthrough in consciousness. Breakthrough in consciousness. So the more that we are embodying our multidimensional selves, the more liberated we become, the more liberated humanity becomes, the more liberated that the planet comes. And so this is a huge part of what's encoded in President Trump's chart, helping to hold that energy to liberate humanity on the collective. Are there any questions regarding that piece?
Yes, I actually have one, because you're talking about collective and consciousness. Now, I've noticed, like, say, Trump and DeSantis seem to be on the same type of vibrational ascension, if you will. So I'm wondering, unlike soul groups, if there are chart groups or solar return groups that are working together.
You know, that is a fabulous question, Carol, and it goes back to Pluto. Pluto is wherever your Pluto sign is, that is your soul group, because Pluto moves so slowly. So the people that are born around the same time, and I don't have the specific time frame to share with you, they are a soul group. So for instance, I can speak to my Pluto. So he was born in 46. Okay, Pluto was in Capricorn, that soul group. By the time I was born in 63, Pluto was in Virgo, different soul group. And each soul group has a soul mission as a group as well that you can dig into specific to where their Pluto is. Oh, I'm sorry, cancel clear. I'm looking at the solar return chart. His natal chart. Let me see where his natal Pluto, that's his soul group. Leo is his soul group. That was in 46. By 63, it was in Virgo. So you can see, very slow moving. This soul group that incarnated with Pluto in Leo is all about the heart chakra, the compassionate heart. This soul group is here to help humanity open up their hearts so that they can make their ascension journey. Open up their hearts to make to facilitate humanity and opening their hearts for their ascension journeys, because as humanity opens up to their ascension, it facilitates our Earth and her ascension. Does that answer your question, Carol?
Yes, I think that's fascinating. Thank you.
Well, and let me share another piece about that specifically for President Trump. You will see that his natal Pluto is in the 12th house. The 12th house has to do with those things that make you feel shackled, that make you feel imprisoned. And so what he is doing is any energy within the heart space of anybody that he is broadcasting his heart to. We know he's on the world stage, so he's broadcasting to all of humanity. His energy, whether he says a word or not, he's like a lighthouse. Remember, Leo is ruled by the sun. He is a lighthouse, and his energy is coming through his heart space, and it's finding all of those spaces within the hearts of everybody on this planet that is feeling shackled, and it's releasing the shackles and freeing them so that they can open their hearts. Is there any other questions about that piece that I just shared? Okay, so let's look at the next piece. The next piece is the North Node. The North Node is your evolutionary GPS system. It tells you where you as a soul is intending to evolve towards through this particular incarnation. Now you will notice his North Node is right next to the sun within 2 degrees. And so this already, the sun is the energy that fuels you, that fuels your passion. And in Gemini, this is all about how we communicate with our local community. And everybody has a different local community. It might be the church that they belong to. Connecting consciousness as a group might be your local community. If you're, a senator, maybe the state is your local community. We know for President Trump, his local community is really the global community. And so there was already from the beginning again, as I said, his natal 10th house here, he was intended to be on the global stage, and he was intended, look at this Uranus energy right next to the sun. He was intended to communicate ideas. Gemini in an air sign is all about ideas and belief systems and what's truth and what is just a perception. He was intended to communicate radical, liberating ideas to wake people up out of these false truths and false beliefs to the reality of what is real. And this year, notice that his solar north node is in Gemini again. And it's in the 9th house. 9th house is the house of spiritual studies or the teacher energy. It's also the house of the highest truths. And his solar north node is right next to the goddess Sekhmet. This goddess Sekhmet is the goddess of retribution. She brings cosmic justice, and she does it through grace and mercy. And so through the course of this year, right, from June of this year through June of next year, and have you noticed how his little announcements that were like once a month are now like every day, and now like 4 and 5 times a day? He's starting to communicate more and more with his local community because he's got to bring the truth out in order to affect this cosmic justice. And that is all a part of this Pluto return and this rebirth of the United States, this rising from the ashes for the United States and the world at large. Are there any questions about that piece? Okay, so the next thing I want to show to you is this. This glyph here is the glyph for Chiron. Chiron is the cosmic shaman. And Chiron is, he brings medicine to heal. And it's in Aries. And the shamanic medicine of Aries is self-love. Now, this Chiron is in President Trump's 7th solar house. This is the house of relationships. And so through all of these truths that he's bringing to everybody, he is also, all of that truth is being shared and is embedded with this frequency of love. And so that people can start to regain their own sovereignty. But the only way that you can regain your own sovereignty is if you can love yourself. You must be able to love yourself before you can love anybody else. And so, you know, we can see here that his natal Chiron is right here in Libra. He has the shamanic medicine of bringing balance and diplomacy and what is the other word I would choose to say? Humanitarian ideals to the world, because the ruler of Libra is Venus, and Venus is the goddess of love. Everything that he does is infused with the frequency of love. And it's in his 2nd house. It's one of his greatest resources that he has available to him, is to share that kind of medicine of bringing diplomacy and balance to humanity. And so as he is ascending and expanding this year as a teacher, all of that is going to be imbued with this medicine of love. And we know that because the connection between what's happening here and here is a very harmonious flow of energy. And this flow of energy, it's called a sextile. It's a 60-degree orb. It's the kind of energy that I describe as, best friends as kids. Little girls, as kids, they hold their hands and they skip down the sidewalk with their best friend. I don't know what little boys do as kids with their best friends. I guess they play wrestle. That's how they show that intimate feeling for each other. But this is the kind of energy, this supportive energy, and it's very closely aspected to Day Mater. Day Mater is the mother aspect of Sophia. So when we talk about the Christ energy, the counterpart of Christ is Sophia. So with the Christ, you have the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. With the Sophia, you have the Mother, Daughter, Holy Soul. So Day Mater as the mother aspect of Sophia is the sacred partner of the Father aspect of the Christ. And so all of that love energy coming from the mother aspect of Sophia, and we know he's holding this mother energy because we see it here, and with his moon placement, is going to be coming through. It's going to be encoded in everything that he's sharing, and it's going to be a part of every relationship that he has, everything that he's doing behind the scenes, and everything that he's doing when he shows up at these new rallies that he's doing. Everything is going to be about broadcasting that love frequency so that people can start to receive that and start to love themselves. That is another foundational piece for helping humanity to ascend and for helping this planet to ascend. Any questions about that? Okay. We're down to almost the last 10 to 13 minutes. I'm not sure where I am on my timer. So I want to go ahead and open it up to, if anybody would like to, I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to put it on gallery view. Okay. Anybody that would like to ask a question, I do not do predictive astrology. But anything else that you'd like to ask about, I can look at his chart and see if I can answer it for you.
Actually, I have a question. I have heard, hold on. My thing stopped, sorry. I have heard that he was, and I don't know if you can tell by his chart, but that Trump was actually General Patton, that he had a lot of the same astrology that General Patton did. Is there any way you could look, there's no way you could compare star charts and see if,
well, what I probably could do, and I haven't done, I'm not prepared to do that right now because I don't have the information and to do it in this time. What I can agree to do is look at it and share it with Nancy so she can put it out there. What would tell me whether or not he was General Patton is a couple of things. And I mean, it would be just like a possibility. Is that a past life? One, obviously, we don't, as a soul being, we expand, but we are who we are as a soul being. Two, we all come in with an ancient lineage that we incarnate in. And that ancient lineage is based on your natal moon. And so what I see here with President Trump's natal moon, notice it's in the 4th house, right? That nurturing mother energy. It's in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is that energy of the highest spiritual truth. It's the seeker. It's the explorer, always looking for higher consciousness, higher spiritual truth. So I'm willing to pull up, what was the general's name again? Let me write it down.
General Patton. It was just because I've heard, because I do listen to different truthers, and one of them had said that he had the same indications and soul light and soul spirit as Patton. And I just wondered, if there was any indicators in someone's chart that would shed light on that. And that would, to me, was just interesting. That's all.
Well, for me, from the kind of astrology that I do, which is shamanic astrology, I would look to this indicator for the ancient lineage, because the ancient lineage represents all of the lifetimes that you've experienced, and all of that energy from that archetype is encoded actually even in your DNA. So I'm happy to look at General Patton's chart and find out if I see anything that might give a clue to that. And I'll share it with Nancy to try to give you an answer for that.
Okay, that would be cool. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. Any other questions around President Trump that anybody would like to ask at this time?
Yes, ma'am. What do the blank spots on his, or the blank areas on his chart mean, or do they not mean anything?
Okay, thank you for asking that question. Let me go ahead and share again so we can show the chart. Okay, so are you speaking of like this area and this area and this area where there aren't any luminary bodies? Okay, so you might think that he doesn't have any energetic influence there, but it's not true. It's just not an area where there is an emphasis of energy. But for instance, the third house where he doesn't have any luminary bodies, this house is ruled by Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So the influence of the Gemini energies and the influence of Mercury energies are still very, very present, even though there aren't any luminary bodies here. And the same for these others. The sixth house is Virgo and also ruled by Mercury. The seventh house is Libra, ruled by Venus. So whatever's going on with his Mercury and his Venus, whatever's going on in the sky with Mercury and Venus, he's still going to have an impact in those areas. It's just that these, you can think about it like when you're a little kid and you're doing like finger painting, and how you learn how that if you mix red paint with blue paint, you get purple paint. And if you mix blue paint with yellow paint, you get green paint, right? And that because they're blending together. So in these other houses, the frequencies of these luminary bodies are just blending in. And so it doesn't mean that there isn't an energetic impact there. There is. It's just that there aren't other luminary bodies, blending their energies and frequencies in terms of his natal chart. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I see here that Carolyn has raised her hand. How polite, Carolyn. Is that you or is that somebody? That was Linda. Carolyn, can you go?
Yeah, just unmuted myself. Okay,
Yeah.
so, well, there's been a lot of speculation that Trump is coming back, imminently, any day. So 13th to the 15th is what, when we had that, went to the Rise Freedom Tour, Kirsten W. said Trump will be back in between the 13th to the 15th of August. And I think Lynn Wood said that. So anything that you've looked at in his chart, do you believe, first of all, that he's never left, but there's a whole big kind of a movie going on, this whole thing about Biden, that is it all fake, or did Trump actually step down and is he coming back, soon, as they say?
So all I can do is give you my personal opinion.
Right.
Okay, based on what I'm seeing.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay, so what I can tell you is this. This Pluto return is going to have 3 activations next year. Tells us a couple of things. Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. And Scorpio is the energy of hidden truth. Hidden truth. There is a lot that we do not know, and it's because of this Pluto return. And there is a lot that we are not going to know until we get through this Pluto return, in my opinion. Remember, the last activation of the Pluto return is December 28th next year. And then Pluto starts moving in and out of Aquarius. I would say until we have that third activation and Pluto starts moving between Aquarius and Capricorn, that we're not going to know anything for sure. But that's just my opinion. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious what your take on all that was, so.
Yeah. Okay, Diana, you have your hand raised, and then I'll get to Kelly.
Yes, thank you. I actually was listening to some astrologers today, and she was discussing something about a star, a permanent star in the sky, the star of kings.
There are 4 fixed stars that are royal stars. Do you know which one she was speaking about?
I'm trying to remember now. I think it started with a K. I don't know, but we're moving from that star now that it's going from the kings ruling to us ruling, the people ruling, not being ruled by kings. Does that
Well,
make any sense?
I don't know which specific star she was speaking to,
Okay.
but this Pluto return that's happening in Capricorn, and Saturn is the goddess of Capricorn, and she's already in Aquarius paving the way. She is the goddess of sovereignty. And so as Pluto is moving through Capricorn, we are all having our ability to stand in our own sovereignty regenerated for us. And by the time Pluto moves into Aquarius, those that are ready, I'm not saying everybody on the planet, but those that are walking the walk, right? And have been working consciously with their ascension and their evolutionary expansion should be in the position to be able to fully stand in their sovereignty. And remember, with this Aquarian energy coming in, and you can choose which timeline you want to walk, which dimension and which timeline you want to experience, you will feel and experience that as being a sovereign being and not having another being ruled over you.
Yeah, I think she said something about it had been fixed there for like 2,500 years, something like that. I can't remember. I'll have to send it to Nancy, but it was pretty interesting that we're going through everything that's happening in the sky. I mean, they're telling us what's happening.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. If you will send that to Nancy, so that, or you can even email it to me, Sophia Mona Lisa 79 at Gmail, and Sophia's with an F. I'll look at that and see what I can see, and I'll send you a little blurb on it. Okay, Kelly, thank you for your patience. Go ahead, honey.
I was actually just going to ask you, and hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot here, but I was going to ask you if you were doing this reading with President Trump in front of you right now, outside of what you shared with us, what would you tell him?
Okay, this is what I would tell him, and thank you for that question. You will notice here that his solar ascendant is in Libra. So this year he is walking the Aries Libra path, and that path is the path of conscious equal partnership. And you will notice that in his first house is the Magdalene. The Magdalene is the embodiment of Sophia consciousness. She's the high priestess to the sacred feminine. And so this year he will come to know himself as the Sophia energy. He knows himself as the Christ energy. His inner Christ is fully online. He is bringing his Sophia self online and coming to know himself in that way. And in fact, I have said that at this time, we are going through what I call the second coming of Christ, and it's happening through each of us with the Sophia consciousness emerging through each and every one of us. And so this is really important because you'll notice here in his natal chart, he also has the Magdalene closely conjunct his ascendant. That first house and ascendant is who you know yourself to be. And so in this natal chart, here it's more of, okay, I'm getting to know myself as the Magdalene in service to the sacred feminine, the divine feminine. But this year, he's kicked it up quite a few notches because now he's getting to know himself as an embodiment of the Sophia consciousness that is the beloved and in sacred union with the Christ consciousness. And that's the thing that I would say to him. Thank you.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't know where we are on time. We were supposed to have a timer here and I don't see it. So I'm not sure where we are on time, if anybody else has been keeping track.
Does it wrap up at 8:30?
Well, we
Yes.
were supposed to have 45 minutes, and so it's 8:18.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking if everybody's good with their questions, we can go ahead and leave the room to join them because the timer situation has gotten off track. And I see 32 unassigned participants. So I think the other group has left the breakout. So let me
Okay.
just say thank you for joining my group. I hope that this was meaningful to you.
It's really good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Now what do we do?
Leave the breakout room.